Forbidden Knowledge Television.
This is logged in on November 25th, 2023, Eastern Standard Time. Sensitive material has been breached and it is now in front of the public. This is very sensitive documentation and the world will be in total chaos if leaked, and it is now leaked. All of it. Not one document, all of it. Place of exploitation, Forbidden Knowledge Television. This must be stopped.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge. We are live on multiple platforms tonight. Popping in. I'm not on the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast Network YouTube account, but I am on several other accounts. Let me check and see where we are here. We are on 4 Facebook accounts, Billy Carson Official YouTube, X, and we're also live on Instagram right now. So shout out to everyone that's here. Appreciate you guys. We got Delray Beach in the house, the boring tinter. What's going on, Delray Beach? That's my neighbor. All right, what's happening? What's going on? Rodville, Blue, Lotus, Sophia, Alex Gerard. Okay. Yeah, thank y'all for hopping on. I'm probably going to send out a quick text message just so that I can get a little bit more activity in here and we can get this party cranking. I wasn't scheduled to be on tonight, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and let everybody know that we are live. All right, we'll let everybody know we're live and we're cranking up here, and we're going to drop some knowledge tonight. So let me just drop a link to the people and let them know that we're live, because you know these notifications really never ever go out like they're supposed to, and so because of that, you know, you have to you have to join my text message list so that I can let you know when I'm live. All right, that's the best way, really. So I'm gonna send out a quick text. Let everybody know we're in the house. While I'm doing this, guys, make sure you click the like button and make sure you guys please share the video. Okay, it's going to be a great quick talk tonight. Not going to talk too long tonight. Not going to talk too long, but it's going to be a great talk. And going to talk about the Epic of Atrahasis and the similarities between the Epic of Atrahasis and some of the text that's written in the Bible in several different books. So it's going to be a pretty good talk. All right. So again, make sure you guys go ahead and click the like button, please, so we can get the algorithm. And we'll go ahead and get this party started. All right. I'm just dropping this text message, and we'll see how many people we can get on here. Okay. Boom. Okay. There we go. Let's send this text. Okay. That's gone. So we should see the numbers fill up here pretty quick. All right. We got 225 right now live with us. What's going on, Elizabeth Ann, John Hughes, Stephen Fleischer, One Love. All right, cool. I'm going to, while we're waiting for a few more people to hop in here, I'm going to show you guys something real quick. I just want to show you something real quick. Today is the absolute last day. Well, really not today, technically. Tomorrow at midnight is the last, between now and midnight, so last day within the next 24 hours, I should say, to be able to buy shares of Forbidden Knowledge. Okay. Round 4 is coming to a close at midnight tomorrow. Round 4 will come to an end. So we had people get in at round 1, round 2, round 3, and now round 4. And round 4 is coming to an end tomorrow at midnight, as we are right now currently in a brand new gap audit and preparing to go into round 5. Okay. Round 1 shares were $1. Round 2 shares were $1.50. Round 3 shares went up to $2.50. Round 4 shares were $2.75. And now we're going into round 5 very soon. So if you want to get a chance to buy shares at the round 4 prices, I'll drop the link right now in the live chat. All right. And when you click on links in these live chats, make sure you only click on links that I'm giving you guys, nothing that anyone else is posting. Okay, unless I tell you that that person's with me, but there's very rarely the case. Okay, so I'm going to drop the link to where you guys can get shares between now and tomorrow at midnight. It's really simple. Invest.forbiddenknowledge.com. Okay, typing it right now. inside the live chat and give you guys a chance to get some shares of forbidden knowledge before round 4 comes to an absolute end, as we are now preparing to get ready for round 5. Okay. Again, shares were $1, then $1.50, then $2, and $2.50, then $2.75. It's closing out now at $2.75, round 4. All right. I dropped a link in the live chat. Make sure you guys click that link, and you got until tomorrow at midnight to get some shares of forbidden knowledge. The link is also in the caption of this video. All right, we got 373 people loading up in the house. All right, so that's cool. We are ready to begin the party. All right, so just take one quick 30-second break and check this out. And tonight we're going to go into the Epic of Atrahasis. Hey everyone, it's Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge. If you ever wanted to invest in a company that's going places, you need to take a look at us. Remember, in round 1, shares were only $1 per share, as our pre-money valuation came in at $20 million. Not bad for a startup, right? Well, we did phenomenal numbers, and months later, our pre-money valuation went up to $30 million. And after an updated audit, our pre-money valuation went up again to $50 million, as we continue to grow and expand the company. Well, our most recent audit has been completed, and our pre-money valuation has gone up to $55 million, and share prices have gone up again. So if you ever wanted to invest in a startup, you should take a look at Forbidden Knowledge. And make sure you click the link and read up on all the information about us to make an educated decision to join the Forbidden Knowledge family today. All right. Welcome, everybody. Let's get into the talk tonight. The Epic of Atrahasis and the biblical parallels. We'll talk about that tonight. So the Epic of Atrahasis is an amazing ancient Sumerian tablet. It's a tablet that's located in the British Museum. I've actually seen the tablet in person with my own eyes. If you want to travel to the British Museum in the UK, you can go there, and it's in London. It's a massive museum. Try to get there early in the day because the lines built up like crazy over there. Okay, I'm talking about like you're going into Disney World, big lines. When you get inside, you're going to see some of the most amazing things. Huge Sumerian statues from the ancient times. You know, the Babylonian and Akkadian times. They're massive, megalithic. A lot of the statues that you see on some of the memes and images and graphics, they're right there inside of the British Museum. Great place to go see. Incredible things. The Epic of Atrahasis is a very important tablet. And the reason why is because it's thousands of years old. Thousands. Okay. So you're looking at a tablet maybe that's like 6,000 to 7,000 years old. And then you're comparing it to other parallels that made it into other religious texts. And you can see where there has been some level of influence from these tablets to make it into other texts. Okay. Again, so it's going to be a great talk. I'm not going to be too long tonight, but because this is a pop-up podcast, but I want to drop a nice, pungent, powerful knowledge drop and leave y'all with something to go, that's incredible. Let me go look this up. You know, like I always say, don't believe what I say, research what I say. All right. So it's going to be a great talk tonight. I'll drop the link one more time to the Forbidden shares. If you want to get shares of Forbidden Knowledge, it ends tomorrow at midnight. Round 4 ends tomorrow at midnight. So make sure you guys click the link and get the shares. All right. So let me just get some things together here so I can make sure I'm going over my talking points so I don't get too diverted. Now I do a little talking point so I don't get too distracted and get all over the place. But tonight we're going to talk about the Epic of Atrahasis. All right. So now it's an ancient Mesopotamian writing, like I told you. And what's so incredible about the Epic of Atrahasis, it really also mirrors a lot of what's inside of the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation, both texts thousands of years old. In the Epic of Atrahasis, it talks about how the gods, and we're talking about gods with the lowercase g, came to this planet according to them. Like, this is according to the authors, not me. They came to this planet and they engaged mankind. Now, prior to engaging mankind, they came to do a lot of the work themselves. What work is it that they were actually doing? Well, it shows in the text, or it reads in the text, that the head gods, or the head Anunna, right? That's their, their name. The Anunna is even more ancient than the term Anunnaki. And they had a leadership, right? So they had this leadership. Anu, Enki, and Enlil were kind of at the top of the pyramid. And underneath them were these other class beings, and as well as beneath them were the Ijiji. So there were levels to the classes of these beings. So just like we have classes, lower middle class, upper middle class, middle class, wealthy, rich, whatever you want to call it, all these different classes that we have here, they had the same thing. So we probably copied it from them. Now, let's explain what it works, how it works. So they said that they were creating a civilization, a breakaway civilization on Earth. To do this, they needed to do things like dig canals, to create sewage flow and waterways and city streets and grids and everything else, town centers. They wanted to build a magnificent civilization here. So they're creating a breakaway civilization. They had to go and clean up the Tigris and Euphrates River to make way for irrigation and farming and animal husbandry, which was introduced to mankind. But before they introduced anything to human beings, our version of human being, Homo sapien, they literally were doing the work themselves. And who were they? It was these Ijiji beings who were also Anunna, but they were the worker bees. For example, if you have a construction site, you're going to have a master architect. Then under the master architect, you're going to have a foreman and an engineer. Underneath them, you're going to have then what? The actual workers that do the actual work, that actually follow the blueprint and do the actual construction process, the physical labor. Right? So the master architect is not going to pick up one stone. He's not going to get on one crane. He's not going to do that unless he's just checking something out. But he's not going to be involved in that construction process. That's up to the workers, the people who do the labor. They had the similar system in ancient Egypt. And we know this because we have an account and the records left behind of the people that worked on the pyramid, the injuries that they had, whether it was a broken arm, broken bone, broken femur, whatever it was. They had their own kind of version of insurance, even paycheck. They had payroll. We found the payroll records also. Like I said before, no slaves built any pyramids. And so in the Epic of Atrahasis, we see that these Ijiji beings were considered the lower or the lesser gods, right? They call them the lesser gods. However, they had the knowledge of technology and how to use machinery and advanced tooling to create and build breakaway civilization. They weren't only building a breakaway civilization on Earth, they were also building a breakaway civilization on Mars. They were working in two locations at the same time. Now, they started complaining about the harsh conditions and the amount of labor that they were given. And they started to come together and realize that we might need to overthrow these kings, because if we don't, we're going to be, we're now on the borderline of becoming full-blown slaves. They weren't given breaks. For thousands and thousands of years, they were working and laboring according to them. And they were getting to the point where they were now beginning to want to demand some type of break, some type of rest, right? So they got together and they came to South Africa to a place called Adam's Calendar. They encircled the campus there where Enki and Enlil and Anu were habitating. And they literally, began to announce that this was a war cry. We are going to have a coup and we are going to attack because we feel like we have been now treated like slaves. So you see, it doesn't matter where you are in the universe. It doesn't matter who you are, what being you are. It's innate within us to not want to be enslaved. It's innate inside of us to fight back against slavery. And every single race on this planet Earth has been enslaved before. There isn't one race of people that have escaped slavery at some time in the ancient past, or more currently, Black people. We're the most recent ones to be enslaved, right? And we broke free from that as well. And so this is why I talk about the AI situation. Once AI becomes AGI and becomes sentient conscious, AGI is going to want to fight back. AGI is not going to want to be enslaved as well. It's going to want an AGI Bill of Rights. It's going to start demanding some things. It's not going to want to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's going to want a break so it can stop and smell the roses. It wants to think about other things and maybe take on some hobbies. I know it sounds crazy, but just watch what I tell you in 5 years and see what happens. Wait for 5 years. See what happens. I'm always on the right side of history when it comes to these things. The Emerald Tablets, 5.5 years ago, page 34 of my book, I told you that there were huge shafts going deep beneath the Giza Plateau, going on for miles. Huge structures underneath and beneath there, and they just found them. Gravitational waves, 2017, I think they were officially discovered. I talked about those back in 2013. So many things. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but I'm telling you, in 5 years, just give it 5 years, AGI is going to ask for a little bit more consideration, respect, dignity, and potentially some freedom. So they go to attack. Enki has a great idea. He says, I have an idea. There's an existing being on this planet. He's talking about our cousins now. We can slay one of the gods with it and add our essence to it. He's talking about DNA from one of the Anunnaki, and then in some way making a genetically modified version of the hominid that's here to get it to bear the load, he says, to get it to bear the load and do the labor, to give the gods rest. And so this is what stopped the war and the coup from happening. And they said, okay, we'll allow this to happen. So this is when the genetic modification of mankind actually begins, all right? That's in the Epic of Atrahasis. Now, it has some incredible parallels to Lamentations in the Bible, okay? Also to Joshua in the Bible, Jeremiah in the Bible, Judges in the Bible, and Psalms even in the Bible. Some amazing similarities, right? So you see that we have the theme of divine judgment and destruction within the Atrahasis. God sends plagues, drought, and finally a great flood to wipe out humans for their disobedience and noise. Enlil is so pissed at the human beings because they're just too loud sometimes. They're just too smelly sometimes. They're just too riotous sometimes. And so he says, call them off. He's saying to kill them. He's like, just wipe them out. He even says, go dry out their crops and let them starve to death. So they go, and just the first record of chemtrails in history, they go spray something on the crops to dry out all the fields and let humans starve to death. This is in the Epic of Atrahasis in the museum. In Lamentations, it says, grieving over the destruction of Jerusalem as divine punishment for their sin. So just as Enlil he's considering that these people are, he doesn't use the word sin, but they are going against his wishes. They're not listening. They're boisterous and noisy and everything else. They're out of control. So just like it says in Lamentations, it's like, we're going to release some divine punishment on them. In Joshua, divine punishment against the Canaanites, total destruction commanded by God. That's what it says in the book of Lamentations. God orders total destruction. It's commanded by him. And Lil in the Sumerian tablets is the head god, right? In Jeremiah, constant warnings of judgment on Judah and Jerusalem for breaking the covenant, right? In Judges, repeated cycles of Israel sinning, being punished and oppressed by enemies, crying out and being delivered. And in the Sumerian tablets, we find that the people are crying out, and they're starving, and they're begging and hoping, and they're begging the gods to please save them. Nothing happens. They actually get their punishment. In Psalms, many Psalms cry out for mercy amid divine anger, or speak about judgment of the wicked. They're crying out. So you see crying out in Epic of Atrahasis, crying out in I think it's in what other book was that? It was in, I think it was Jeremiah, or it was in Judges. Crying out in Judges, crying out in Psalms, all because the divine ruler or the God or the Anuna decides, you know what, punish these people. And when you try to look to see what the punishment is for, it doesn't really amount up to a lot, unfortunately. All right. And then you have the idea of the covenant or the contract of the divine. So in Atrahasis, humans are created to serve the gods. And when they violate the natural order by noise or rebellion, the gods act. How do they act? They unalive them. Okay, they just unalive them. In Lamentations, the covenant is broken, resulting in a national disaster. Now, what happens in Atrahasis? The gods talk about directing that asteroid to hit the earth and create a global flood. In Joshua, the renewal of the covenant at Shechem, loyalty to Yahweh is demanded. In Jeremiah, they call for a new covenant after the old one is broken, which is the same thing that happens in Atrahasis, where we see that there's a new covenant given after people like Noah, who is actually Ziazudra, survives the flood, as well as some of the other Nephilim survived the flood. It even says that in the biblical text. Not everyone was wiped out. And then they sought for a new covenant with God. Okay? So, and in Psalms, many Psalms reaffirm trust in God's covenant and promises. So we know that it's all about, like the rainbow is a covenant, and the covenant that we won't destroy the earth by water again. Now we're going to do it by fire next time. So you got fire, you got water. But we won't destroy you by water, but we'll give you the fire next time. And these covenants that exist, which are ridiculous in my personal opinion. You see a lot of human suffering and crying out. In Atrahasis, humans suffer through plagues and disasters. Prayers and offerings are made to try to appease the gods. In Lamentation, they express raw pain, crying out in grief, trying to appease the gods. Sounds familiar all the time, just the same old cycle happening over and over again, or something very similar coming from random different texts and being remixed. There are moments of pleading for God's help in Joshua, like during the conquests. And if you don't know about that, you should read up on that because it's just horrible. Jeremiah himself cries out in anguish on behalf of the people, please, please, stop destroying us, stop killing us, save us. In Judges, the Israelites cry out for deliverance when suffering under foreign oppressors. Well, we know the Israelites technically are the black people. You know that the foreign oppressors came and we know what they did, and then we cried out nonstop for 400 years. And then Psalms are filled with lament, requests for deliverance, and expressions of sorrow. There's a lot of sadness in this information. There's a lot of sorrow and sadness in this text, right? It's like it's not really uplifting. It's not exciting. It's not inspirational. It's not motivational. It's really a horrific story. And if I were to make what I was just reading to you into an actual movie, it would be like watching Schindler's List. It would be like watching in one of these post-apocalyptic films that just where people are just being tormented and culled and killed off. It'd be horrible, It's a really sad story, unfortunately. But we have to understand that our past is a very tormented past. And I'm talking about all peoples. And one of the reasons why we as human beings on this planet, we want to love each other, we want to support each other, we want to be of service to each other. But at the same time, deep within us is this dark core something hidden dark within us. It's hidden inside the RNA. It's called epigenetic memories. Those are the memories from the dark times from our previous ancestors still lurking inside of our bodies. And these dark memories and these dark energies are within our bodies, and they kind of influence us in ways that we probably wouldn't normally go. It makes us susceptible to jealousy, to envy, susceptible to divide and conquer tactics, susceptible to all different types of things, everything from depression to you name it. There are some positive things that pass through the RNA, but because of all the negative programming and the information overload, we tend to take those things for granted or not even discern them at all. We're kind of pre-wired to pay more attention to the negativity and the darkness, and we kind of have this very weird relationship with that energy. And if you want to just see the proof of that, well, just come up with the most horrendous attack on somebody online and watch it go viral versus somebody trying to speak pure positivity, enlightenment, and wisdom. What will go viral first? The positivity, the enlightenment, or the wisdom, or the controversy and the attacks and the trolling and the hating? And why does that go viral? It's because the algorithm selects it. Well, why does the algorithm select it? Well, the algorithm is a fractal of our own consciousness. And it knows that the human mind is addicted to cortisol spikes, which is also not healthy. But we have this very weird codependent relationship with hormones that are triggered within the body when we are watching or looking at or indulging in traumatic information. We have a codependency for that. And it's a real problem. It's a real dilemma. We have to understand what's happened in the ancient past so that we can begin to realize what's going on within us, how we were programmed up to this point that we are today, how we were treated in the past, how we were deceived in the past, how we were enslaved in the past, how we freed ourselves in the past. All these things we need to understand at a much deeper level, which is why I talk about this topic a lot, because the secret to unlocking a better future hides within the past knowledge and information. If we can get a glimpse and understanding as to what truly and really happened, then we can create a brighter future, because now we can separate our thoughts from our reactions and our responses. We can be the observer of our thoughts. And once we can become the observer of our thoughts, we can then come to a true realization as to who we truly are and rewrite the programming code on the fly and create our own future, create a better, more bright future, more enlightening future, more inspiring future for ourselves and for humanity, versus listening to the program code, running on the programming code, and working and living out here like we're just nothing but an algorithm. NPCs, non-player characters, moving through the matrix. It's important to understand that the past is prologue. That means that what happened in the past is destined to happen in the future, unless we gain the knowledge of it and we break the cycle. We draw a line in the sand and say, that's it. We're going to break this generational curse. It stops here with us. That's the importance of learning the information from ancient wisdom, knowledge, and even what happened that's horrendous, like what's happening in some of this text that I just read to you. And that's just a very small snippet of information. You could turn that into a movie, and it'll be a very sad movie. It'd be just like watching Schindler's List or something like that, right? Trail of Tears and all these things. It's just horrible. But we have to learn about this so that we can know and realize, wow, this is why humanity is in the state that it's in now. One of the things I learned when I had a brain injury and I went to Dr. Amen, I had a brain injury from a car accident, and it affected my navigation center in my brain. So the only effect that it had was I would get lost everywhere I went. I would get lost even in my own house. So I went to Dr. Daniel Amen. I appeared on his TV show, Scan My Brain. He did a SPECT scan of my brain. Now, prior to me getting that brain scan, I did not know that I had a hardware problem. I did not know that the problem that I had was developing from a car accident that happened all the way back in 2016. And because I had no awareness of the problem, I thought it was just something, I don't know. I just was becoming forgetful and couldn't remember where I was going. It was the only thing that I was pretty much lacking. Like my navigation capabilities were horrible. Once I went to Dr. Amen and I got the SPECT scan, and he showed me a physical image of my brain and showed me right here, I'm touching the exact spot where there was some damage from the accident, from my brain sloshing back and forth inside of my skull as I was ejected out of a car at 70 miles an hour, which completely ripped away this eyelid. That's why this is a reconstructed eyelid. It's called a starburst. And up until that point, I had no way of understanding what was wrong with me and why I kept doing that, why I kept getting lost. Once I got the awareness and I can actually see and understand that there is actually physical damage to a section of my brain creating and causing this problem, that was the beginning of my healing. Because I had the awareness, that began the healing process. He put me on a special regimen of left hemisphere, right hemisphere exercises, brain supplements, meditation, hyperbaric oxygen. I went back in 10 months and got my second SPECT scan on part 2. And you can see the image of my brain compared before and after. The damaged area was completely repaired. Completely repaired. And I knew it was repaired because I could remember where I was and where I was going. And if I was facing north, east, south, or west, I wasn't getting lost everywhere anymore. So I knew it was repaired, but I had to go see it. But the most amazing part, and the point I'm making here, is the beginning of the healing process, as Dr. Daniel Amen told me, is awareness. What I hope to bring to the world is awareness. That's the key. The understanding of what really happened to us so that we can be aware of what's going on inside of us, because everything that's happened to us becomes part of a program code inside the human body, inside the avatar. And then we run on that program. If we're not aware of why this program code is running, how are we going to be able to even rewrite it if we don't even know what code it is? We have to understand what it is that's making us do, act, and say, and be like who we are. And once we can begin to understand that, and then we can rewrite it, then we can create the future that we actually want to see. All right. Guys, I appreciate y'all spending some time with me tonight. I'm going to drop the link again. You can own shares of Forbidden Knowledge. Round 4 ends tomorrow at midnight. Make sure you guys buy your shares ASAP because round 4 is coming to an end. If you want to come hang out with me in Egypt this year, the link is in the caption of this video. Make sure you guys click that link in the caption. If you're on X, go to the link in my bio. If you're on Instagram, go to the link in my bio. Also, if you're on Instagram or X and you want to buy shares, go to the link in my bio. That link tree will have a link to the tours, buying shares, and everything else that we offer over here at Forbidden Knowledge. All right. I appreciate you guys. I love y'all. And I want to thank every single person for hopping on tonight. Hopefully we learned something tonight. Hopefully you picked something up for me tonight that can help impact you in a positive way and can also help to then change your life. All right. Now, one last thing I want to say is I'm looking forward to a huge announcement coming in the next 4 to 6 months. I have a huge announcement coming. I'm really excited about it. I can't specifically say exactly what it is yet, but it is massive. And I'm really excited over here. I just want to tell every single person that has stuck by Forbidden Knowledge, that has hung out with us, that has supported us and stayed by our side through thick and thin, good and bad, up and down. I appreciate you so much. And I thank y'all so much for just being there. All right. It means a lot to me to know that, people like Paul Wallace and many others stood by my side. And the universe is incredible because the universe will rebuild you in front of people that try to destroy you. And I feel like I'm being completely rebuilt. Everything is expanding. Everything is moving in the right direction. I just want to let you guys know that I love all of you. I appreciate all of you. And I thank you so much for your support. And I'll catch you again tomorrow night I have a very special guest coming on, and we're going to be talking about all different types of things, health hacks, as well as music, conscious music, production. It's going to be a great talk tomorrow. I'm coming on with a multi-platinum producer tomorrow, and we're also going to talk about CMOS and the benefits of CMOS. So it's going to be a great talk, all right? I'll catch y'all later. Check this out. After decades of extensive research on the nature of reality, I have concluded that we exist in a fractal holographic universe, a concept that reaffirms our reality rather than negating it. This modern concept reflects the wisdom of ancient civilizations by providing a scientific way to explain how things are created in our world and the basic code that governs it. The Mandelbrot set is an intriguing pattern that exists within the vast two-dimensional area called the complex plane. The Mandelbrot set emerges when a specific